perfect in essence that
I know.
we're doing liver today. So the ancients would call the liver the organ to live, the liver to live, which right then and there gives us an indication of its role in the system.
Right.
So today we're going to touch on, Western definitions of liver function as well as Chinese methodology and principles of the liver hun, or the seat of the ethereal soul, what that even means, and why smooth liver qi is essential for our system. So if you think about, last week we practiced with water and the kidney, and the water in the element cycle feeds into wood. So the winter time of the water and the rebirth feeds right into the springtime of wood. And so in a wood practice, we're really interested in the essence of spring, which is like the buds that shoot through the ground, the ground, the growth. And when you think about growth that comes from when it's thwarted, for some reason, like the dandelion cannot spread through the cracks, then it decays and it dies. And so there's, two essences of liver qi. On one hand, it could be smooth and benevolent and so full of vision and ideas and projects and manifestation. And on the other hand, it could be angry, frustrated, thwarted, agitated, drunk on its own rage. And so we all have this in the system. And so today we're going to be flushing the liver line. Yay! And liver is one of my favorites because, well, they're all my favorite, right? But if you want to start on your back in reclined butterfly, that's how we're going to begin. So with the soles of the feet together. Mm-hmm. The soles of the feet together, the knees apart, and you can place blocks on the outsides of the knees if you'd like. And so one of the reasons the liver line is one of my favorites is because it gives us really immediate insight into where we become attached to our own preference. That is to say, where there's no lubrication for life to flow through, for the smooth blood qi to flow. And so the postures we'll take aggravate the liver line. And so we can't hide from any of the emotions or sensations. So even though it's a yin practice, the postures will elicit some yang sensations too. So some yang breath, we're going to be focusing on the musculature. So for the first few moments, allow the breathing body to settle. And become aware of any agitated energy that is flooding the system right now. You may decide to take this whole practice with your eyes closed, thus supporting the flow of liver chi since it deposits in the eyes. The eye door is the organ door of the liver. So when someone smiles with their eyes, or when they are frustrated or hiding a sense of discontent or dissatisfaction, you will see it in the eye crease. So in this first shape, the focus is on draining the agitation from the eye door and actually bringing it down to the meeting place of the upper and lower sky and earth winds of the body. So into the heart. So if there's agitation in the upper half of the body or agitation in the lower half of the body, the breathing is sort of gonna include both halves to meet in the middle. Just take 2 more deep breaths. And then gently remove the blocks and help the knees toward each other and bring the feet to the edges of the mat. So the long edge of the mat, the knees will stay bent, and then you'll walk the feet laterally outward to the edges of the mat and let the knees dip toward one another. So you may want to walk the heels a little closer and the heels further out from one another until you feel that opening in the pelvis. And so the trajectory of liver begins at the big toe, the meridian channel. Then it's going to come up the inner sole of the foot, up around the ankle, up the calf and the knee, and up the inner leg line through the groins. And then it's going to come up either sides of the abdomen and meet right below the nipple. And the organ pair of liver, the yang organ is gallbladder, follows a similar pattern but on the outer edge of the leg and the hip. So anytime we're working liver, it's customary to work the inner leg and the hip, as well as under the chest. So the postures we'll be taking today will sort of aggravate the agitation, like I said, that has become stagnant or knotted in the liver line. Take a few more breaths. And so although we're working only the liver channel, it is interesting to note that the pairs of the organ systems reflect the expression of the emotions stored in the organ, either toward the self or toward others. So the yin organ is the liver on the wood element channel, and the anger or agitation is typically toward the self. Whereas the yang organ on the wood element channel is the gallbladder, and the anger or agitation or thwarting feeling there would be directed outward. Sort of a feeling of disempowerment or impotence or blame extended outward. So we're discerning that, but at the same time focusing in on the activity of the inner world of the liver. So with that, go ahead and open up the legs and extend them out and lift the arms above the head for a morning stretch, and point and flex the toes, lift the palms. And then bring the right knee into the chest and reach on the inner leg line. You'll bend the knee so that the knee comes toward the shoulder, and then reach with the right hand toward the inside of the ankle with the foot flexed. And the sole of the foot is mirroring the sky. So lift the heel, kind of like a half happy baby. And then with that right hand, you're going to reach to the inside of the sole of the foot. And you can reach on the inside. You can also weave the hand kind of over the top of the foot and grab the lateral blade or the outside. And then place the left hand on the left hip and press the hip down, flex the left foot, and extend through the quad. And then the knee toward the armpit. Yes, beautiful. Just here for a few breaths. And extend the leg to the sky. You can release the hand. And then reach with the left hand toward the right calf or shin. And then drape the leg over the left side of the body for a twist. So the left leg will come all the way over, and the right leg over the left, and the right arm to a T. And see if you can extend the right leg out so the legs are in an L shape in a twist. And draw the leg up toward you. You may even want to grab it. We can take a strap. Or, here. You have space.
Looks like metal hip, so it doesn't move as good as the other one.
That's okay, it looks great. So you're just going to let the teasing happen. So that agitation can be from not getting the essential needs met. And also the hurt, the long-standing hurt of not getting the preferences either respected or considered, we'll say. And so the liver remembers. Yeah. Go ahead and unwind now, gently. And then we'll draw the left knee into the chest. Extend the left heel to the sky, keep the knee bent, and reach on the inside of the knee to wrap the hand around for the sole of the foot. And then bend the left elbow as the left knee bends toward the armpit, and you find the half happy baby on the side. Right leg is long, extended, and flexed to protect the knee. Right hand may come to the right hip to square the hips off so the right hip does not lift beyond its squared capacity. Spacious in the belly, breathe in, open up the belly bowl. And then lift prana into the rib cage. Extend the leg to the sky now. And reach the left leg all the way over the right side of the body. Extend the right arm to meet the left shin or ankle. And the twist is always enjoyable for the spiraling of chi, for digestion. And especially since the physical home of the liver sits on the upper right side of the abdomen. And sort of the cavity opens behind the diaphragm, and although it's on top of the stomach, it's still encased in the ribs or protected by them. So when we're in postures like a twist and an extension, there's a lot more spaciousness for the liver organ to be breathed into. So take 2 more breaths. And start your unwinding slowly. And draw the knees to either side and take your time coming up to a seat on the long edge of the mat. So you may even want to turn your mat to face me long ways so that, yeah. So we'll now take a sequence that's really going to agitate the inner leg line and the inner knee joint where the liver chi often does not flow smoothly. We'll say that. So go ahead, yeah, exactly, with the sole of the left foot on the right inner thigh. The right leg is extended. And then we'll reach the right hand toward the right ankle, but we'll flip the palm of the right hand with the forearm down, and then the left hand's going to come overhead. So it's an extended dragonfly twist. And the left hand will drape over the head, yeah. And then twist the shoulder back as you look underneath the armpit. And breathe. Release the left arm down by the left hip. Press into the right hand to sit yourself up to a neutral spine, and just stay here for a moment. Oh. Do you feel that? There's like micro release points that are very subtle. It's not like screaming from the rooftops, but they're little uncoilings that happen in split seconds. It's like someone took a knot around, like a rubber band around a finger, and then suddenly just loosened it or removed it. And the rubber band may have been there for so long that you don't even notice that it's been released yet.
I felt a little something going on here.
Good. When we're feeling into the subtle, it's subtle, yet the more we practice, the louder it gets. Like the most subtle sound sensation is like whew, huge. So we're going to celebrate any little movement, okay, as we switch the legs. So the sole of the right foot's going to come into the left thigh. Left leg's going to extend. If you want to place the bolster on the outer edge of the left leg. We'll start by walking the left hand down. Yeah, forearm down and palm faces up as we reach the right arm overhead toward the left leg. Then open through the heart, look under the armpit, and drape the forearm over the head. So there's almost a resting. And this is the yin-centric representation. If you want to place a block under your forearm, you can, so that the weight's held. Release the right arm first. And then press into the left hand and come up to neutral. Pause and reorient. And then extend the right leg out. So the wide-legged. And place your bolster in front of your belly on the floor, maybe a block or two. If you feel your tail is underneath you, move your flesh away and stick your tail out so that the posterior tilt is along the whole length of the back, so that the hip and the back is hinging as one. And then begin to hinge forward and maybe place the forearms down. And you can rotate the block up like so that the forehead can lean on the block. Do you feel it in the inner leg line? No?
I feel it hinging.
Do you feel the stretch and the...
And yeah.
Yeah, okay. So this is the most obvious area of agitation for the liver. And it will also illuminate our nervous system response to stress. So in a posture like this, as we endeavor to soften into the discomfort, our most preferred method of either disconnecting or fleeing, freezing, fawning, that is our most conditioned response to getting through or getting over what sensation is arising. That conditioned response will reveal itself in a posture like this. So it's actually more than just a practice. This is a mini practice within the practice to see how you meet anger. So if you would, for a moment, consider a big, strong tree. Any tree that comes to mind in front of you. Strong roots, a sturdy trunk, branches that bend, and leaves and fruits that bloom. So smooth liver chi is well lubricated. And then when the winds of change or turbulence blow through, or when our visions do not come to fruition on our timeline, when there's chaos, the branches, the limbs, bend in flexibility, agility, and they're more able to weather a storm without snapping. So now look at the ways in which we
become brittle and dry, and at the first sign of conflict or agitation, our branches are snapped like twigs and just become more fuel or kindling for our own fire of rage that we bequest on the people around us and ourselves. So the gift of smooth liver chi is the gift of patience and of true kindness. So see where that quality of a benevolent nature is available for you to sip from and feed your whole liver channel with that sentiment of kind, patient, smooth, flowing liver chi. Three more breaths. Slowly, now remove the blocks and the bolster. And bring the hands to the inner leg line of the knees and help them come up. So help them bend and place the soles of the feet down, and maybe bring the knees to the chest and wrap the hands around the shins. Drop the forehead down to the knees and take a few breaths. And then open up the legs and come to the short edge of the mat. We're going to set up for a swan. So you're familiar with pigeon, but this time we're going to bring the heel into the pelvis so the right heel is going to come toward the pelvis as the knee bends, and the left leg is going to extend behind you. So it sort of feels like a pigeon. There's an extension happening with the left side and compression on the right hip, but we'll place a pillow or a cushion under the right hip. Yeah, so the right knee is going to bend. So you're on the left side, so switch the legs around. Yeah. And then place that bolster under the right hip. Yeah. So instead of a 90-degree angle with the heel to the knee, there's more of a 45-degree angle. And this is going to put more of an emphasis on the inner leg line, the inner left leg, than it does the outer right hip, but we still feel it in the outer right hip. So I'm going to bring you another bolster here. So on a physical level, a biological level, the liver as the storehouse of blood requires the smoothness in order to detoxify and eliminate the waste that comes through the substances, so the fat soluble substances like grease and alcohol and medications and even environmental toxins. So they say that when the liver is hurting, it's not the liver that hurts, it's the anger that hurts. So the anger at what? When liver isn't able to do its job, what is taxing it? What's creating the bumpy ride of the detoxification process? So we may look at nature here and consider the element of spring. And how we look to spring for new buds and shoots to bloom through, for the greenery to return, for life to come back, live, the liver, life. So when life doesn't come through or happen according to our preferences, the liver is impacted. At least when we're in a state of resistance. So you may sort of do a review, a springtime review of all the projects and plans that you have that didn't come to fruition the way you wanted them to, and begin the arduous process of letting go, not with the mind, but wherever there is disappointment and hurt in the heart. And so take a few breaths and focus that energy through the system. The energy of sort of like, it's almost like a forgiveness, a universal forgiveness. And then we'll come up onto the hands and shift the weight onto the right hip. You can remove the prop or the bolster. And we'll bring the left heel around the right thigh. So we're coming into a twist. Exactly. Yes. So wrap the right hand around the left. So the other way, wrap the right, around the left, and place the left hand behind the back and look over the left shoulder. You might even place the outer forearm on the outside of the left thigh. And twist. And as you release the twist, we're going to come into the swan on the other side by just turning toward the left. And just scooting ourselves over to the left side. So we'll find the swan shape. Yes, beautiful. And so you may be acutely aware of the burning sensation or the inflamed sensation of the hip or the right thigh or groin or psoas. And so we're going to look at that word for a moment, the inflamed. When there's inflammation, there's flame there, there's fire there. There's a forest fire running free. But for the liver, we'll look at it from the perspective of being drunk on our own rage and being quick to light. So the fibers of the being that become brittle and dry then are quick to become engulfed in those flames. That is to say, they don't allow the bending, they don't allow the patience of the benevolent liver chi to smooth through the branches. And so you may inquire where there is a part of self that just loves to get drunk on its own anger. And you may welcome in the breath of compassion. And we'll take that for 3 more rounds of breath. And as you start to peel up, you sit back on the left hip, and the right knee will come into the chest, and the sole of the right foot around the left thigh, and then we'll twist over to the right. Yes, that's right, toward the right. Mm-hmm. So you feel those micro releases?
Bigger than micro.
What'd you say? Minier?
Bigger than micro.
Bigger. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so as you unwind, you're going to come onto your belly, and we're going to take our 2 last poses. So we'll come into field goal post and bring the right knee up in line with the hip and the heel at a 90 degrees, so a half frog on the right side. You may want to put a cushion under the right knee. What we're looking for is the hip to stay grounded. So notice if the right hip lifts, and see if you can endeavor to bring the right hip back in line with the left. So is it comfortable for the left arm to come up like that? Like great. And then you can bring the right cheek or the left cheek to the mat, whichever is available. And we're interested in the flushing of the inner right leg line, the groin. But gently. So the Chinese call the liver the storehouse of the Hun, the ethereal soul. So when the system is not overrun by trying to control its circumstances and protect itself from preferences that it doesn't wish to experience, we'll say, the Hun can be the source of ideas and images and creative visions, insight. So a storehouse of inspiration for plans and projects, and also a deep level of introspection. So the Hun is connected to the physical eye door in the human vessel. So with the sight, the external sight, there's also the insight, the introspection. So when you think about you or someone else that you know who's experienced a taxing of liver chi, it may be very difficult to be insightful because the immediate experience will be most commonly projected outward. So, blame. So we're really interested in restoring a lively home for the Hun to reside in. And so even if on a physical or conscious level you're not so tapped into what that means, on a subtle level, you holding postures and breathing through them in a energetically intelligent way is connected to ancient wisdom that does know. Take a few more breaths. Just a few more breaths. And start to extend the right leg down. As you take a moment of a reprieve with the legs together and the palms on top of one another, forehead on the palms. And then take the other side, arms to field goal and left knee parallel to left hip, half frog extended. So when there's a parasite, let's say in the system, or we know the liver is taxed with its ability to eliminate waste, we also might soften into these postures knowing that as a storehouse of blood, liver also stores iron and other nutrients and has a wisdom. The organ and the energy channels have a wisdom about them for the bile production and for the transportation of the waste products. So it's often said that just the breath and the smoothing of the liver chi can actually support the liver function. So we really never want to underestimate the power that we have in healing our bodies. So for the next minute or so, please visualize a clearing and detoxification of your liver organ. So you may visualize that kind of cone-shaped organ in the upper right abdomen. And since you're on your belly and the left knee is bent, the right side is exposed. So you have breath that can access the cavity right beneath the diaphragm as it pulls down and lifts breath. And as you breathe and the right ribs expand, you may visualize figure eights cleaning and cleansing and detoxifying the liver organ. And then gently extend the left leg down, and you can take a few minutes shavasana on the belly today, or if you'd like to roll onto the back, you're welcome to as well. And I will relieve you in just a few moments. Gently start to visualize figure eights behind the eyes. Figure eights under the nipples. Figure eights through the groin, through the inner leg line, down the calf and ankle, down the inner ridge of the inside of the foot, and down to the tip of the big toe. And then start to make subtle adjustments with the fingers and the toes and a stretch and take your sweet time coming up to a seat. Thank you for living. To live. To life. Reclined.
Thank you.